apparently, chemically, there's something that happens when you have tea and milk together. Some chemical reaction happens. It's addictively delicious. Like, say, for instance, your first tea in the morning, you're like, oh, I need that caffeine. It's actually not the caffeine necessarily that you need. It's the two together. It's whatever that chemical reaction is of the caffeine and the milk together. If you just had a black tea, you won't get that same hit.
Like cocaine and alcohol. Anyway, welcome to this week's sobriety podcast. We're talking about the unique chemical reactions included in tea and milk, cocaine and alcohol.
So there you go. Yum.
Which do you prefer?
Call.
yeah, drop us a text.
Maybe we should have a line at some point, like a WhatsApp line.
Oh, I thought, well, a line.
I know, a line. I was going to beg your pardon.
That's
Yeah.
No,
I mean, like, text us on
Welcome
this number.
to Drugscast. Okay, shall we start the podcast?
All right, yeah.
Hello
whatever.
and welcome. Hello.
Welcome.
We're to Our Art Podcast.
Our Art Podcast.
And today we're going to talk to Luca.
Luca Shaw.
Our
Luca.
About Luca and your Luca.
I knew this day would come one day.
Yeah, you've turned from co-host into guest.
Yeah, staring at you now like that.
It's true.
It's all about you for a change.
I love the head wobble.
What was that, Matt?
Hey, it was an attempt to put you at ease, make you feel comfortable as a guest.
Was it really?
Did it work?
No.
No. So Luca is...
What am I, Matt?
Well, you're an employee. No, you're
Employee.
you're an employee of 1853 Studios, but you're also an artist. So
yeah.
I think today's conversation is about you rather than your role here, because we've discussed that, haven't we? I think at some length on the podcast. But we haven't got under your skin and found out more about you. So
it's true.
Luca Visual is your Instagram handle. Mm-hmm. So, and that's because of your sort of visual arts kind of, what would you call it? Visual arts, what? Passion, vocation, direction? Is that any of those words?
Yeah. Well, I'm a visual artist, so I suppose that everyone loves that Luca Visual. I think it's just like a bit catchy. Some people just call me it as like a nickname. No, because I do visual arts, basically. And
what does that mean? Because... a lot of people say, what's the difference? I mean, art that you see with your eyes, is that visual art or is that too basic?
I don't know. I think it's because it's just a distinction between, like, I'm not a video artist or I'm not a film artist or I'm not a photographer or I'm not, like, how else to explain it? I suppose visual art, maybe traditionally is seen as more of, like, a 2D sort of, like... kind of expression that is maybe seen in more gallery settings or sold or whatever it might be, but it's visual art in the sense that it's not performance, it's not music, it's not this, it's not that, it's visual art. Maybe that explains it.
But then there's I guess you can use different mediums.
Oh yeah.
To express, and because I've seen you do things with light, for example, as well as you paint,
print.
Yeah.
So it's not it covers quite a broad number of areas of expertise and interest.
I think that's kind of like, because I actually have moved across quite a few different types of art making. Like I actually studied illustration because...
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I had a vivid thought when I was younger that I probably wouldn't make any money from art. So illustration was a bit easier for my dad to swallow. I think I remember having this memory of sitting in the car with my dad and me saying to him like, no, I could do illustration because like, look, you can do books, you can do this, you can do that. You know, I could just draw for a living. And he was like, oh, well, you are quite good at drawing, I suppose. So I think that's kind of where it came from. And then also I went to college in Stockport, and the illustration degree at Stockport was particularly good. And I decided, for a variety of reasons, to stay at my college and study at university. So I went to a university that was technically MMU, but it was at Stockport College. It was incredible. I mean, I'm diverging here, but is that the right word?
Divergent.
Digress.
Yeah. Whatever.
But yeah, so actually I started with illustration, but I am not an illustrator by any means, because that became...
Is that what you did your degree?
Yeah. So I have a degree in illustration.
Oh, it was print.
No. I just did a lot of print on my illustration degree. Yeah. But to be fair, and that's what's interesting about my course, it wasn't really an illustration course.
Right.
Because the people I was taught by, Gary Spicer, legend, and Joanna Spicer, they were like the
Spicers.
Yeah, the Spicers. They
good,
were the
isn't it?
Spicers.
I like that, yeah.
They were and are infamous, like in their own ways.
Yeah.
Both practicing. Joe is an illustrator and Gary's more of a visual artist. And I think that's the distinction as well, actually, with the visual artist thing. It's less commercial, whereas illustrator is more of a commercial setting. And that was the issue, really. I found the commercial side of it really, really hard. Because ultimately I was an artist. Yeah. But I just didn't know at age 16 what I was doing and stuff like that. And so I thought, you know, I just had this passion for drawing. Like, when I was at school, whenever you had those like worksheets that start and there was a question on it and a big box at the bottom, and it started with the word draw, you know, like draw your auntie or draw your favourite house or draw this, because it's like I'd light up. I'd be so excited at seeing the word draw. So I just knew I liked to draw, really. That was the only real distinctive thing. And but basically where I'm going with this is that I actually started in illustration, so I have a kind of a weird entry point. But I was actually on a degree that was very open in terms of like art making. It was more of an art course with a commercial leaning. So I was doing things like I made installations of like big, like spherical objects with things stuck on them. Somehow I got an illustration degree doing stuff like that. I did weird, you know, figurative, very abstract figurative drawings that I made into books and weird things. I did a lot of screen printing and stuff like that. A lot of graphic design, because I actually really like design as well, but all of these skills have contributed to what I am today and what I'm still working on, basically.
At what point did your dad realise that you'd conned him?
Oh, yeah.
Bless him.
I think, because before I went to uni, I was very, very traditional in the way that I was making work. So I was like painting in like a photorealistic style as much as I could at that age without like, you know, having had the amount of training that you need to get to that level. But like I was painting in a very traditional way. And that's when my parents were like, you're really good at this. You know, like they really were proud of me because, you know, I could paint a face and it looked exactly like a face. You know, that's what people like to see. And it was actually when I went and did illustration that the Spicers blew my mind up so much. And that's when my dad was like, oh, fuck. Oh, shit. What is she making now? And then that was the change. And everyone now, it's quite hard. I don't think that my family, they're so supportive of me, but they don't understand what I do or why I make what I make. It's quite like, I think they're certainly intrigued, but they don't get it.
No.
I feel bad because I know they'll listen to this, but they know they don't get it. But they support me nonetheless. Like,
was that so? That was like that. Did when you were a kid? Did you think that you could make a living out of art then, or work in art, or was it that kind of when you got into university that you realised that you might be able to do that, or?
So when I was a kid, I was quite poorly mentally. I was a bit mad, let's say it like that. So I didn't go to school that much. So I was quite a unique case in the fact that I was given the option to, like, they were literally just like, if we can just get you 5 GCSEs so that you can get to college, let's just try and do that. Yeah. And so I had the choice of 5 GCSEs and I just said, like, well, I'm definitely doing art. So there wasn't really, when I was at school or at college and stuff like that.
Sorry,
what?
There's a drum going off, isn't there?
Who's that?
Big Ellie, won't it?
Oh, will it?
Yeah.
Do you want to... you can't really hear it. Is it getting in the way?
Is it getting in the way?
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of in
half an hour.
It's kind of in the background. It's not.
But then also,
you put that one.
It won't feel like it's in the room, will it? So.
Just keep going. I don't think it's. I don't think it's too bad. Sorry. So when you were what age are we talking about here? When you were at
when I got ill.
School.
No, I got ill when I was like 11, and then it carried. I was on and off ill.
You mean like with mental illness kind of thing, right?
I had a severe anxiety disorder, and I spent a lot of time in a bedroom,
right.
Basically really like quite a lot of agoraphobia, another specific type of phobia, and just really, really struggled to like get on board with school and stuff, really found it hard.
I mean, school's hard anyway for a lot of kids, isn't it? Regardless, you know.
It's really hard, really, really hard. But I think one of the respites for me was like drawing and art. I was really into like performing arts before that. But when I got poorly, performing arts just weren't really an option because I couldn't leave the house. So for me, it became like my artistic stuff kind of came out at home. So for me, in terms of thinking about future, you know, how your question was originally about when you were a kid, did you think about being an artist? Well, no. I thought beforehand about being on the stage. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in theatre. But obviously that changed quite dramatically and I couldn't do those things anymore. So I didn't really think coherently a lot about that because it wasn't really, it was very short focused goals at that point, like get me through school, get me through college. So when I went to do college, I only had 5 GCSEs, one of them being art. And that was my best. I mean, I was fairly like, I was very competent. Like I was quite intelligent as a kid. Like I got what I needed to get and I did well in them, you know. But I just didn't get a lot of them because I had a reduced timetable. So art was like my main passion really. It was all I really cared about. So I went and did a BTEC instead of A-levels. I wouldn't have been able to do A-levels as far as I understand. So BTEC was a really good option for me. But I'm lucky because that's all I wanted to do anyway. So I did a BTEC at Stockport College in art and design, which was like a foundation. And that's when I started painting really, 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 really like sort of properly, you know, photorealism. And my I got better, quite a lot better by the time I got to college. And then that's when I started to think, and then when I chose the degree, it was a little bit more like, I have no examples around me of people who make money with art. I have no understanding of that world. I don't come from a family where, like, my dad is creative. Like, my dad is a draftsman. He's a kitchen designer, and he'd always be drawing kitchens and things like that. But we didn't really like go to art galleries and do things like that. So it wasn't really something I was like that was in my head. I was more thinking, what do I want to do with my time? And it was just draw, basically.
So when you going back to like when you were at secondary school and you were going through this difficult period, and you spent a lot of time on your own, and did you spend a lot of time with your art? Was that something you were able to do regardless? Like it wasn't, you couldn't, did you know, like sometimes when, you know, like when you're depressed, like you get depressed, you can't do anything. Did you have moments like that, or was it,
no,
how was it?
If I was at home and I was in a safe space, I was the best I could be. Because the problem was if you tried to remove me from that environment, the problem was if I had to see people or be social or go somewhere or go to school or go wherever, that was when it became difficult. So no, actually, I just stayed in and made a lot of like weird paintings and a bit of crafty stuff, did a bit of sewing, like anything creative really. And I had a good, when I was in secondary school, I had a really good art teacher, I think. I don't remember her name or anything, but I remember thinking like, you know, she was quite encouraging and like, she showed us some like portraits of something or other, and I literally was like, I think I can do that, and I just went home and started doing portraits, like just copying pictures and stuff like that, and I ended up being quite good at it. It was just like a bit of a thing, and so yeah, no, I was actually, it was actually a bit of a respite, really.
It just makes me think, because like those are like very formative years, and it sounds like, because you know, it's almost like you don't want to say everything happens for a reason, but things do happen, and things, because of the way things happen, something else happens as a result. So did you get like a lot more practice as a result of that? Were you able to spend a lot more time doing that kind of thing than maybe you would have been if you'd have been doing things like going out and being with people and doing? Do you know what I mean? Do you think it was actually important in your artistic development because you had the practice, more practice and time?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, those years when I was like at school, obviously, I don't know if you can recall like what kind of art teaching you get at that level. So like GCSE level teaching, you don't get an awful lot of like sort of training.
No.
So it's actually like, it was more me just sort of like doing it.
Yeah.
So I'd say that like my like the level of professional training only came after that. So I was just kind of doing it myself and kind of trying to paint faces and environments and stuff like that to the best of my ability, but there wasn't like a whole lot of support with that. So whether it made me get better, I don't know, but it definitely instilled like a love of it, I suppose, and it at least solidified my passion. You know, a lot of people at school don't really know what it is they want to do.
Yeah, a lot of them,
and like that must be awful, because I only ever really knew very vividly what I wanted to do. So I'm maybe that is a blessing. I had a lot of time on my own. I had a lot of time to like grow up. Like I ended up having to grow up quite fast because I was having, you know, I was going to therapy. I was like on medication. I was like having to like talk about quite complex subjects and think about myself a lot as like an 11-plus-year-old, having to like try and explain my feelings and what was bothering me. And, you know, so you end up growing up a little bit faster. So I think like a level of maturity came maybe.
Yeah. Because I think a lot of people at that age, like when we, especially, I mean, I don't know from a lad's point of view, but you know, when you hit puberty and things like that, we spoke about when we were talking. Rather than being introspective, you kind of you deal with everything outwardly, don't you?
Yeah.
You go like, so it's, you kind of almost did the opposite of what I think probably most of us do.
Well, I say that, but by the age of like, so between the ages of like 11 and 15, where I was pretty introverted, But when I started to get to like 15, 16, I had like leveled out a little bit. Like my medication was good. I did have a relapse, but it was more like, at that point, it was more around a generalized like anxiety and low mood and stuff like that, which I was struggling with. And I think that's heavily linked to that time of life as well, where you are like, adolescence is a very difficult time of life. Yeah. And I was struggling with that a bit more, but that was also like linked in with all of that other stuff around like, you know, sex and like, you know, who you are and what you like and what you don't like and what all your mates are doing. And luckily, I was so lucky because I didn't get bullied like or anything like that, you know. And I'm prime. I should on paper have been like prime example of like someone who should get bullied. But what I mean is, I wasn't bullied. I had a really nice friendship group, and I actually, in the end of school and to start of college, I was quite well, and I was like doing all that stuff. But then because of that delayed thing, I went a bit ham then. So then I kind of went the other way and was like 16, 17, 18. I was a bit like crazy. Doing a bit Skins vibe, like
Yeah.
went a bit the other way because almost like kind of catching up with lost time or whatever, or maybe a sense of like trying to prove myself, or I don't know, whatever that might be. Don't know what that was about, really.
Well, it's not unusual. I mean, it's not unusual anyway for kids to do that. One thing or go from like how people change from like
they do.
One minute you're good as gold, next minute whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not. We don't even. I don't think we all have to be able to figure it out. It is what it is. Part of growing up, isn't it?
Yeah.
So by the time you got to college, then, because I think it's interesting. Because people who know you now and have only known you for the last year or so, you're very outgoing, very confident, and all that. All the opposite of what you've just described when you were younger. So I mean, obviously, once you got over it, you just carried on. You felt. How did you just feel like you became yourself and more self-aware and more happy, and you left it behind, or what was?
No, I struggle with anxiety every single day of my life. It's interesting because that's what everyone always says. They always say, like, of course they do, like, God, I would have never known kind of thing. But that's part of it for me. It was quite a lot of like a control thing, and being able to, part of the whole like want to stay in and not want to go out was part of like, if I'm inside and I'm in my own space, I can control other people's perception of me, and also like I don't have to hide how I really feel, because I felt very pressured to be different when I was outside. Maybe be like more outgoing or get people to like me or whatever that might be. I think there's a lot of that going on, a lot of like perfectionism and trying to make sure that I was what I needed to be. And
comparing yourself to other people. That's a big thing when you're a teenager, isn't it?
Massive,
and things like that.
Massive. So as I went into college and stuff, I definitely learned who I was amongst people. I definitely learned that part of my personality is actually to be quite outgoing and to be, I enjoy loads of things that involve being out and around other people. But I still have that side to me, like, massively. And I do keep them quite separate. And that's just kind of part of it, because there's almost like a fear of being vulnerable or losing control. So those things subsequently have been things that I've been trying to investigate. Like I've sort of been in and out of therapy a lot since, and still have an anxiety disorder, but I've come, I mean, I'm jumping forward a lot here, but I've had to come to learn to understand it, because as a person in the world who needs to look after themselves and earn some money and be a functioning human, you have to find a way to get in the world, to get by in the world. So I have had to learn how to adapt the world to fit me as much as I can. So that's been learning. And all of this stuff, all of this stuff that I'm talking about around like security and control and safety and all those things are the things that I explore in my work, like quite massively.
That was a question I was definitely going to come on to. Like, how has it affected your output, your creative output? So my work is, like you might notice,
very red.
Lots of red. I love red. I don't know if it's like some weird woomy thing, or like
red,
safe, like warm or primal, or
red floor.
Red
very
floor. Red everything. Like I do love red. It's weird. It's really weird. So in my work, like you'll probably see if you have a look through, like I can describe a few things. You might not know really what you're looking at, but there might be a lot of things inside things. So like whether it be figures or like motifs or whatever within shapes, and they would maybe be like art shapes or like structures or something like that. And that comes from that place of me feeling like things need to be boxed in and housed because it's safe like that. Sometimes when something's floating around, I just need to put something around it because it makes it safe. Or you'll see a lot of stuff around like history and motifs of like old tapestries maybe, or like things that are around like decorative elements like borders and things like that. And I think there's a lot to do with the past and history that makes me feel safe. I think it's something around the fact that it's been there for a really long time.
And you already know what's happened?
Yeah,
as
maybe.
to not knowing what's happening with
Makes
the
you feel
future.
safe.
There's something, It makes me feel safe, and it makes me feel like there's a past, or maybe it's like an ancestry thing. Maybe I don't know what it is, but I'm still exploring these things. But I think it's a lot about old structures as well, because the oldest of structures, they've stood the test of time. So it's like they're really like thick and sturdy, and therefore they make me feel safe. And they've had a life almost. And it's almost like knowing that they'll be there after me as well. So there's some kind of like weird. So I guess, my art is inspired a lot by my own mental health and the way that I see the world, and how like the challenges that I face. And a lot of the figures that are in my work are quite like they're not very open. You won't really see me drawing people running or like being really exposed with their body. Usually they're quite like pulled in, because that is that is just something that's very like natural to me. If I'm feeling like I'm finding things hard, my body feels very exposed, and it's just stuff like that really, like that I'm playing with. Honestly, people don't really ask me a lot, so they don't know, but actually I think a lot about stuff.
Good.
And like, so the work is actually quite complex and extremely personal.
What do you do with it? Where is your work? I mean, like, do you do it in your studio? Because you've got a studio over here.
Studio.
Do you do a bit of work, put it in, file it away under, there's some more work? Is it ever out there? I mean, because you work, so you make some of your living through working here.
Yeah.
But you've done other things in the art world, haven't you? So tell us how you make a living and how, if at all, your art is part of that.
So, as I said, I studied illustration, so I did start trying to work with a style of illustration that is more abstract, because there is this wave of style that was like coming from certain art schools and stuff that was like kind of in at the time. And so I did do a little bit of freelance work straight out of uni, like things like book covers and things like that were a bit more like suited. So I find that my work often works well with like novels or poetry or stuff that leaves a bit of room for imagination, because I'm not very descriptive with my work. It's quite open and like you can put your own stamp on it. So I did a little bit of that, and I mean I got a normal job straight out of uni as well though, but it was luckily within the arts sector. So it was at a place called Waterside in Sale. So like I worked front of house there, just on the bar, but then obviously my interests and just chatting to people about artwork and stuff, I just naturally got involved in.
You got a lot of volunteering, didn't you?
Yeah, so I started to volunteer with them, like assistant curating, doing some design work for the creative group that operates there, stuff like that. I got bits and bobs like that, and then I was selling bits of work online. So I've always had this like, here's my practice, and I sell it in a few different ways, whether that be like through Etsy or directly, through my Instagram or through exhibitions. And then I've always had like this other side, which is usually like arts still within the arts, but more about like facilitation or curation or like writing. That's been like the stuff that I do. So like, or design. So I was trying to be freelance for a while actually, because I get a lot of jobs that were like assistant curator or whatever, or like short projects that were only for like a 3-month period or whatever, like through different places, working on some really exciting projects. But my work was just always like happening on the side. But that worked well because I just was gathering all of this experience in all different areas. I started to work with animation as well, because I started to work in, just stop me if you want, because I'm just going to keep chatting, but like...
What's the idea?
Yeah, that's the medium.
That's the medium, yeah. It's good. It's better than you drying up and not saying anything.
I will start, though. If you start me, I'll just keep going.
Well, that's why, because every time I go anywhere, everybody knows you. Wherever I'm doing, or I go to a gallery, or speak to somebody, and I go, oh, I know somebody. Luca Shaw, and I'm going, yeah, I know Luca Shaw as well.
I love art, and I just realised, like, there's a section of it that's about me making it for sure, but there's a whole other section that's just as large, which is just an obsession with art. I love art so much, like I live for it. My house is full of it. I'd rather spend my spare money on art. Like I've spent hundreds and hundreds of pounds on artwork. You know, like I want to eat out of it. I want to sleep in it. I just want it to be around me. And I have engaged myself quite intensely, like in that world. So I think that's probably how people know of me, because
they do.
And like when I was younger, like just out of uni and that, and like those opportunities, like people would be like, "Do you want to work on this archive of puppets from Cosgrove Hall?" And I was like, sure, yeah. So I was working with these like puppets, like, you know, really old, like, you know, like Bill and Ben and all them. The amazing opportunity that I got through the team at Waterside. Just stuff like that, learning about things and then loving the idea of like curating them in a space and how they would work. And I was working with someone called Rosie, and she was like really smart about it. And I remember thinking like, this is sick. Like, you know, so stuff like that, like all just contributed to like my thoughts on stuff. But yeah, so in terms of making work, it's been like making money. It's been like me trying to like balance like some of my mental health struggles with my passions. And often that's been like freelance actually works quite well for me, because it could be more casual and temporary and stuff like that. And people were much more like open to like, you know, me having certain needs or whatever it might be. Like, but yeah, my art always just existed as a thread. And then, oh, sorry, I was talking about music. And so so my boyfriend at the time, when I was going through all those stages, like just out of uni and stuff like that, he's a jazz musician. And my whole group of friends throughout uni and post-uni were all jazz musicians, and my brother's a jazz musician. And so I was in these spaces where music was like really important. In fact, it was the only thing I like. Jazz was constantly on. Everyone was playing jazz constantly. And so I got into this world where I was like meeting people, and I met this woman called Nishla, and she's an amazing jazz vocalist, like singer, songwriter, but also the most imaginative person you can think of, and storyteller. And she had this amazing idea. This must be like 2016 or 17, I don't know. Had this amazing idea of like, she loved my work, and so she was kind of like, we should do something. And then she was like, you know, you could maybe animate and stuff. And I was like, okay, I'll learn how to do that. And I just did, just forced myself to learn how to do it, because she said that she might have a project for me. So I was like, yeah. So then we just started this amazing partnership of like making these weird. Well, we started her first project was called What Happened to Agnes, and it was telling the story of her great aunt who went missing in Malaysia in the 1930s, and she wanted me to bring it to life with art, like moving art on the stage. So we worked on that project for ages, and through that we brought on board Tom, who then became the third member of what is Ulita, which is the theatre company that we founded. And we just used to make these plays that were like music and art driven plays. So that was one strand you know, that was predominantly funded through Arts Council and different things like that.
Well, that taps into the performing arts thing
exactly.
that you were interested in when you were younger.
So I've always loved performing arts. I've always loved theatre. I've always loved that as like a transformative thing. You know, you can be someone else, or you create a world in which is different to the one we're in, or whatever that might be. Like, I've always loved that. So a multitude of ways that I've made money. But if you would, I think right now I'm in this stage where it's like my art is on the side, it just kind of filed a little bit. Like, I am definitely going through a stage at the moment where I'm in a really lucky position where I've got this job here that allows me just like one extra thing. So I'm not splitting my head loads. It's just like this and my practice. So what that does is it allows me a little bit more space to just think, right, well, where am I going with my practice? So I'm taking a bit of time to like play with it and really settle with the fact that actually I just want to exhibit. I don't really want to, I used to do a lot of commercial stuff, you know, like for albums or for like specific things. And I don't want to do that anymore. I want to make art that is just like either exhibited or performed or something like that. So I need to go through this like development phase to really understand more and feel comfortable more with what my work is.
And I think the other thing, because anyone who's not watching and is only listening, like you're in your late 20s now. So like
I'm 29 in a couple of weeks.
Right. So you're really young in terms of, well, just in general terms, but also in your career terms, because you're not that long out of uni,
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
not in the grand scheme of things anyway. So you're still very much in that formative.
Yeah.
But it's great that you're like, well, you know, compared to like how I like fumbled my way into eventually figuring out however many years later what I want to do. As long as it's art, creative, music, whatever, you're interested.
Yeah.
And you're involved as well in Oldham and in Stockport and in Manchester or whatever. But like, do you think that the art space and people, you know, with what you've been through in your earlier years, is the art world a comfortable place for people like that, or is it an uncomfortable place for people like that? Or
that's a really great question, actually.
Because I'm thinking that like the art world is just full of, you know, people that have been through, you know, people that have
got money and.
Well, no, I don't know. Well, maybe, but like you know, artists, the tortured artists, people who have, you know, people have different reasons for creating, but often darkness is a real driver for art and things like that. So I imagine that there's a kind of like a you know, creative. I know that creative people are all very different. But is it an accept? You know, I don't know. I think you get the initial question.
I think what's hard is like. I think one of the hard things was like finding your people and it feeling like quite like within the art world, if that's what you want to call it, like sometimes it can be very hard to get in and feel like you're safe enough to expose what you're doing. And one interesting thing and I've not mentioned, is one of my major things that I've done is start Underbank Studios, which is a studio project in Stockport. I did that before I came here. It was sort of like a lockdown-induced thing where we started a studio collective, kind of for that reason, because we kind of wanted to define what we were calling an art community. So we created spaces for people to work, but more than that, we created spaces where people could exhibit, but also like support one another and like have like little crits and operate as more of a collective. And that was something that we just really, really felt so passionate about and just did it. Like we raised like we ran a fundraiser and raised nearly £10,000 to do up an old building that needed it. And so why I'm using that as an example is because when I did that, it did change. Like my confidence being in this world did change in terms of putting myself forward as an artist rather than, I'm supporting another artist in a group to, you know, I was in a lot of roles that were supporting and I guess that still was, and you know, that's still a major part of what I do, but
you learned a hell of a lot.
I'd learned so much and also gained an awful lot of confidence because I had great people around me, like who also, you know, who wanted to see my work and wanted to talk about it. As soon as you leave art school, nobody cares anymore. No. You've not got someone there all the time saying, so what are you working on? What are you doing? Yeah. So the actual idea of the studio as a concept became dead important. And then I like formed my way into like just being a bit of like not an expert, but certainly gaining an awful lot of experience of how to do stuff like that, like to operate like an arts organisation. About 3 years, I think. Okay. Yeah, and then I left when I came here basically because that's what I wanted to do. But But yeah, and I also think you're right about it being, because yes, it can often be filled with people who are struggling mentally, not always, but there might be those sorts of reasons why people go into it. But actually, no, it's not a very nice place for people with mental health problems to be in, partly because it's a lot of work. It depends. I'm the kind of person who actually, I can't just like work, whereas a lot of artists can, you know, like them types of people that are like, oh, I'm going to stay up all night and work because I have to. Yeah. And it's just calling. No, that's not how it works for me at all. If I'm in a bad place, I don't make work, actually. I make work in order to understand things that are happening in the way I view the world. But I have to be in a good place to be able to do that. And for me, to be able to be in a good place, I need to be secure. Like, I need enough money to live. I need a stable home. And I need, like, security. And that's just how I am. And it's always how I've been, like, moving houses and stuff. I find it very disorientating and very uncomfortable for me. It makes my anxiety go through the roof. So, like, my focus for a while was on, like, things that just brought me money. So my focus wasn't really actually just my practice. So that's what I mean by I'm sort of stable with this job enough to be able to use that as a springboard to play. Because if I don't have that, like the times when I was most financially unstable were the times when I wasn't making artwork. Because I can't do that. I don't know who can do that. It costs money to be an artist. You need a studio space. You need materials. You need... So before you've even started making work, you're acting at a deficit. Yeah. I don't know how people do it when they're not... And for me, I just don't work well in that environment. Like, if I'm not stable, I really struggle.
I guess you'd have to make sacrifices in other ways in order to fund that, wouldn't you?
And I just can't... I know people who can, and I hats off to them, but I just really can't.
It made me wonder. Actually, as I asked the question when I said about the art world, like, I mean, what even is it?
Yeah,
what does that even mean? Like, I mean, like, you know, what? I guess there are communities, you know, in different places of people who have sort of shared. You know, this is the art world, isn't it? The studios, because there's lots of artists and creative people, and sometimes our paths cross and we interact and we do this. But then, I don't know, what does it even mean?
Yeah, I suppose maybe what I meant by saying it's not a very easy place is because it's not very clear. So if you are someone who is like neurodivergent or has mental health difficulties like anxiety or whatever, sometimes you just don't know who to go to, and it can be quite veiled. So that's not very accessible, right? And also, if you've worked in the arts, often you are working a lot more for a lot less. A lot is expected of you, I'd say, like within arts industries and stuff. But then the one thing I would say that's good about working within the arts is that it's often filled with people who are also like you. The only reason that you are overworked is often because it's underfunded. So it's not really, the art world isn't to blame. It's actually society and its value of what you do. Artists are constantly applying for things, constantly basically auditioning themselves every month, every week, some of them, you know, open calls, exhibition opportunities, applying for funding, applying for this, that, and the other. You are constantly writing to try and get little bits of funding to do things or to get your work shown or whatever. And it's exhausting. Yeah. And that's all unpaid work that you are doing constantly just to try and get one little break that will hopefully lead to the next break and blah, blah, blah. So it's like, but that's not the fault of the industry necessarily. It's the fault of the underfunding of it. It's the fault of the fact that it's not valued enough in a market society because it's not sellable in the same way as maybe other industries are. So that's a whole other political conversation. But what I'm saying is that
it's because it's so subjective, isn't it?
I suppose so.
Like popular art, and you know, commercial art and things that are the most popular that are going to sell. People don't want to take a chance on things that are maybe a little bit, more out there, in inverted commas.
And also it is like, maybe, I mean, I don't necessarily agree, but it is seen as a luxury.
Yes.
Like it's a luxury addition to a person's life, either owning or having or being a part of arts. I would fundamentally disagree with that, but I know that that's probably the...
People say to me it's self-indulgent.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
Well, it is, but I don't think that that's problematic.
No.
I think that's like really important. I think people should think more about who they are and what they're doing.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the process is self-indulgent insofar as you have to spend a lot of time on your own and you put a lot of yourself into it, but the results are there, ideally are there to be shared and seen and enjoyed by a lot of people.
Yeah.
So it's only through that self-indulgence that other people get to enjoy it. I mean, no one's going to complain if someone produces something amazing.
No.
Whether it's a piece of music or whatever.
Exactly.
But it is something that comes up a lot. It is the struggle
It's
for people
hard
to make a
work.
living from something that they're really good at.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be like that, should it? It should be easy to make a living from something you're really good at. But it seems to be that if it's art, it's...
And
feast or famine.
What?
Feast or famine.
Yeah, and one of the things that is hard about it is that there's no clear path.
Yeah, there is.
So, like, I taught for a while as well. I taught on a degree for a while on illustration, though, and a lot of the students would say, what should I do to get to there? Like, I want to get to B. How do I get from A to B? And I can't tell you. I don't know. I can tell you maybe things that would be helpful. And also I am nowhere near where I want to get to, and I have no idea how or if I'll get there. But I have an idea of what I'd like to get to. But ultimately, there is no clear path. Like, you do this, you do this, you do this, and then you'll get to this. Doesn't work like that, does it? You get a little break.
Yeah.
And then you don't.
Yeah, but it's almost kind of like that point where you're waiting for everybody else to get it, or you're waiting for other people to give you a position or a. Whereas I think you've just got to keep thinking
Doing
that
it.
I'm going to create it.
Yeah.
I'm going to create my reality. I'm going to do if it's whatever it is I'm going to start a podcast company and a podcast.
Yeah.
I make podcasts. Well, I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to set up a studio.
Yeah.
I'm going to go.
Yeah.
I want an art studios for artists.
Just do it
I'm going to.
Yeah.
There's not the kind of place that I want. So I'm going to create it like you did. And I feel like you'll probably whatever it is that you end up doing will just be of your own creation. You'll make it happen, whatever it is.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's getting to that stage, though, like I said, because that stage, whatever that might be, is privilege. Because you can't say to someone who has nothing that wants something, just do it. Do you get what I mean? There's a level of privilege that comes. I know that there's passion is key. I absolutely get that. And if you really want something, you will get it. I just don't really agree with that idea that because what that does is often give people a false sense of, if they've not managed to do it, that they've failed or something like that. But what I'm trying to say is, yes, if you just keep trying, fucking great. And that's my plan. I'll just keep trying to make work that I feel connected with and that hopefully connects with others. And that's all I can really say, because I'm really not at the stage, any stage to be able to say anything, really. I think I've got a long way to go. But I guess, yes, you're right. I feel like now I'm in a position where I can just be just get on with it and just focus on your stuff and just do it and just create it. But if you're in a position where your life doesn't allow for that, it can be really hard.
But you've already set yourself up.
Yeah, so I'm good now.
But you've made conscious decisions, and part of it's a bit of luck, meeting the right person,
a lot of luck.
But also it's about saying yes to things as well, and so I think there's. Yeah, you need a bit of luck, and I don't necessarily call it about being privileged. Sometimes it's privilege, but other times it's just about being savvy and making the right decisions, working
Taking a risk as
hard,
well.
taking risks. There is a combination of things that get you to that,
course.
point. And even the point, because you're not quite sure, the point that where you think, you know what, this is what I've made it to the place that I want to be, might not be even the place that you can conceive of now.
Yeah.
You don't know that, do you? That's the other thing.
No, and that is a good point, because like the goalposts are always changing.
Yeah.
Like you think you want one thing, and then you realise actually that's not what I want anymore. I want something different.
And you go through experiences which fundamentally change that, and things that happen, circumstances, whatever.
Yeah. You have to leave room for that change and that, like, whatever. I guess what I meant with privilege is the fact that, like, all I really mean is, like, for me to have got to this stage where maybe I can work, like, maybe my ambition is to work bigger, or maybe my ambition is to work more on something. In order to work bigger and to work more, you need money. So all I mean is, like, it is a privilege to be an artist. And I disagree with anyone who says it isn't, because you are fundamentally at day one at deficit, because it costs to be an artist. This is what I'm trying to say. Like, so that's what often is really hard about it, and that people don't always get, that it's a tough world out there. And that's why when it comes to, like, funding things and giving people opportunities, like, and that's what we kind of want to do here as well. Like, what we're doing is to, like, help with artist development, give people stuff, because we can't always give people money, but we give people something to give them that step up, because often if you don't have money, it's just not accessible to you, and that's just how it is. So I think it's just understanding that, like, even if you've worked really hard and you've applied for that money, I am in a privileged position now, and I completely accept that, because I'm in a position where I've got a lovely secure job where I'm supported, and, like, the people know me and care for me, and if I struggle, they care. You know, those things for me, some people don't have that. And I have a secure money that comes in every month, and also I have a space because of these guys, you know, that is I can afford. That means I have physically more space, so I can physically make bigger work. If someone's working from their home, they can only physically work to a certain... So what I'm talking about is, like, aspirations are one thing, and you can obviously get yourself really far with that. But privilege has to come into the conversation, I think, is all I mean. And I know that I take it to a political place, but I think it's important, because people should know that just because they're not getting there, it's not always their fault.
No, I agree. I agree with what you're saying to a point. I don't think you can call something that you've, like, made conscious decisions about and worked towards, and you know, got there on your own through your own endeavours. Whether that's privilege, I think being handed all those things, being handed a space, handed money, that's privilege. I think. But if, you know, you have to take credit for your own achievements as well, and you know, your own talents and your own vision, and you know, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it feels to me like you've found a place where you will be able to, you know, you'll be able to deliver for yourself and help other people, because that's the other thing about, like, life. So. We can't do it all on our own. Like, we can't do everything on our own. You can do your art on your own, but you need, like, and I think that's kind of the thing, is you need the support, like you've just said, you know, around you need a loving partner who you live with, who support, and family, and friends and colleagues and all these other things. And, and you are privileged if you're supported, I think, in that way.
I guess that's what I'm... there's lots of levels.
It's quite layered, isn't it? But you're right. Like, we are blessed if we're in those kind of positions,
I'm
aren't
blessed,
we, to be able to do that kind of stuff. But we there's so many examples of, like, people need other people to propel them into the world of you know, being well known. You know, often people who make it just get a lucky break by meeting the right person who's able to propel them into, you know. So it's and I think by curating an environment like this, where everybody knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, it helps to, hopefully there'll be some success stories in that respect.
Oh, I really hope so. That would be great. And, like, the stuff that I've done as, like, trying to like shape that side of what I'm doing as well, like the this duality of like artist curator, I think they can come together more, and I think that is happening more, and lots of people are taking on that title of artist curator because there's a creativity in like bringing in and spotting and, you know, like and curating something that's like thoughtful and evocative and like and yeah is going to support someone else as well, and that cross pollination and the collaboration that you get from like working with other artists and all that kind of stuff, like yeah, I really hope that, you know, in the future we can get to that point where, you know, we are that support for lots of other people as well, which I think we already are really, but like it would be nice to be able to offer more things and that kind of thing.
I think we will do for the future though.
Yeah, I think we will. It's definitely on the cards anyway. But yeah, that's here.
But you've not been here long either. You've only been here, what, 18 months or so?
Yeah.
So, and this, you know, the changes that have, if you think about even just in like where we're sitting now and like the things that weren't here 18 months ago physically, and the people that are here, and like, you know, you're here, you've made a massive difference. And we've said it before on the podcast, but you've had a huge impact on people and the places, and it's a bit all this kind of stuff. So it's just, I think it's all part of that. If you feel that you're in the right place, going in the right direction, then that's massive, innit?
Yeah,
gives you a real kind of confidence that you don't have when you. I mean, we've all felt lost, haven't we? There are times in our life when you just feel like, what the fuck am I doing? And where the fuck am I going? And what's gone wrong? Why? You know, and like it's really
God,
hard.
it feels nice to laugh after all that. Oh God. Well, sometimes, you know, I have that side to me. I'm very, you know, I'm more multifaceted.
I know you are.
I think that's the longest I've ever been in your company and you haven't laughed. To be honest with you.
I know. I'm usually just laughing all the time.
No, but usually you can whip my hide when you want something and do something. When you, I go, right.
Yeah, I've got all them sides to me.
I go, right, okay. Scared of you.
Yeah, I mean, you're very organised, and you're very like
can be.
You are.
Yeah, no, there is a lot of sides to you, and that, but I think that's good, and interesting people do have lots of sides to them, don't they? And and you know, creative people, and you're always changing and learning and growing, and
that's good.
I think that's why, you know, it's nice to be here. Because, and you can have serious, and that's the whole thing of a podcast, like, you know, with this, you have conversation, you learn things about people that you didn't know before. Yeah. And also, you love art, and it brings you a lot of joy, but you take it very seriously.
I do.
So when we're having this conversation about it in that kind of context, it becomes quite serious because you are taking it, you know, it's a serious issue
that's
to
a
you,
good
innit?
point. I really value it, and I do take it seriously. It's a very, like, very important part of me and what I do and what I'm interested in, and it's and you know, it's just sick. It's just fucking sick.
It's an interesting thing though when it comes to value, because I think people who don't see themselves as being creative and artistic and having a particular talent often say, "Oh, I wish I was like that." They envy it, don't they? You know, they're often something that they envy, but then at the same time don't value it. Do you know what I mean? You don't get, even though people envy it and wish that they could do it, it's still hard, like we've already just said, to get money. You know, well, get people to pay for art.
I see what you're saying.
Do you know what I mean? It's kind
they
of like
envy
there's a little bit of a contrast in
massively.
You know,
it's quite a contradiction,
where they're
isn't
coming
it?
from, really.
Yeah.
So I think it's because you kind of like obviously value something if you envy it.
So put your money where your mouth is, man, and invest in it and make it easier. I mean, I don't know who we're talking to here.
But it is a luxury. because you've got these massively contrasting ends of the spectrum. Somebody bought a sculpture of somebody an invisible sculpture that he didn't make recently, didn't they, in the art world? Have you seen that?
Oh no, I didn't see that.
So you've got like people like with loads of money, laundering it, pissing around with it, doing like you've got. You know, this really, really high end. Yeah, so somebody said that he'd made this sculpture, but it was like invisible. You know, he made an invisible sculpture. He sold it for like 18 grand.
Really?
I mean, you know, so like,
Hilarious.
so you've got that end of the spectrum, yeah.
Fucking hilarious.
And then you've got somebody who's like spending, you know, hours and hours and hours working on something amazing. It could be any one of a number of people in here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And who can't sell it for anywhere near what it's actually worth.
I know.
So that's the.
It's always been like that, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's always been that level of it, isn't it?
It's mad to me.
Is, yeah.
It's mad to me.
Another man meets another man's poison, though, isn't it?
Yeah. I think, though, like, when people say that, though, or people... Because what people are really buying there is, like, fame or, you know, because that's maybe, like, a really famous artist, I'm imagining, or something like that. They're buying that because they've been told that means that they've entered into something that is like super exclusive, right? They're not engaging necessarily with art or the arts in the way that I would consider arts and the arts necessarily, because, I mean, I don't know exactly the story, but like what I mean is, like, to me, like, arts and the arts and all the types of cultural pleasures of the world. Oh, it's gone on too long now. I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. They're the things that make you want to live. You know, like going to a gig or going to a show that really moves you, or like looking at a painting and being like, I really feel like that is somewhere else that I want to go to, or like, you know, like just like so explorative and like transformative, and like it's just amazing, like, and it's what makes us like truly, like, this is so cringy, but like human, like it actually does, because what else is it? Like, I know that there are industries that are so key to like our world and operating and shit like that, like we've got to be able to physically survive. I get that. But what makes a person want to survive? You know, what makes a person want to do things? Like, is it because they want to think about, like, I don't know, they want to go downstairs and look at their yellow wall? Or, you know, what is it that makes people want to live? And often it's like the things where they can be creative and they can go to something creative, or they can engage in something that is other than just like the day-to-day.
I think this ties in, though, with, like, you know, if we're going to get a bit philosophical,
well,
but
you know,
the whole of existence is about creation.
Yeah,
like the universe was created somehow, and it looks incredible. It's beautiful. It's spectacular. Everything is created. Like, really, you know, birth. It's all about creation. It's about life and death creation, and something being there and then not being there, and that process of creation. That everything is about creation. Like, and we either want to create, and we are creating all the time, like in some form or other. Like speaking is, you know, you're creating, noise, creating. Yeah. Everything is about either creating something or being on the receiving end of a creation. You know, everything in this room is a creation. So like I think it's the thing that it is. It's just like just a continual energy. Everything is constantly in this flux state of creation. So I guess as sentient beings and, you know, receptive, we tap into it in some way. So maybe in a way we don't realise, but you know, like people do, don't they? People just want to be creating all the time, or being involved in the creative process, or enjoying, like you said, the way people enjoy art.
But then you go back to that place of where people are like, oh, I really envy that, as if they aren't creative, or they don't know that world, you know?
I think I told the story before about young kids being like most young kids being genius level. I don't know. So NASA, right? What it's like, you know, obviously you're going to need a lot of genius people to, like, you know, work in something like NASA, you know, sending people up to space and doing loads of really brainy stuff that, like, not most of us can do. So they're like, well, you know, where do we find all these genius or genii, whatever the plural is? So they started studying these kids, a group of kids, and it was the same group of kids, and they went back to them, I think it was every 10 years. And like, when they were really young, when they were like, you know, in toddlers and stuff, their problem-solving skills and the way that they went about things was like a a big percentage of them were like genius level. And then as they got older, the number like decreased. Because of it's the curiosity that kids have and the creativity that kids have, and the way that you're constantly like having to figure things out in order to learn and grow and develop. That's that level of genius that you need. But then as we go through society and the way that are we schooled and the way that we're, religion or whatever it is that's we're indoctrinated into other ways of behaving and all our creativity is taken away from us. Or you can't, well, what's the point of doing that? You can't make a living out of that. You need to think about doing, this is maths, this is logic. You need to be thinking, never mind, so by the time they got to like whatever age it was, they only had a handful of people who were, considered to still maintain that level of genius thought. But when they were all little. So if you put people in a different environment, maybe they'll, maybe more people would continue to think in a more creative way.
Yeah.
It's not about IQ and like, or knowing a lot about a particular thing. It's just this creative, because they were interested in creative problem solving and stuff like that, because obviously that's a big thing, how do you get to Mars and back, and you've got to solve a lot of problems. And young kids have got a really high level of ability of figuring these things out.
It's a type of thinking though, right, as well, so when I went to uni and because beforehand I hadn't been particularly academic, partly because, as I said, I didn't really engage that. Well, I actually loved learning. I do love learning, and I really enjoyed parts of it. But I didn't see myself as a particularly academic person. But then when I went to uni, and it was through art that I became super academic. I got really into different types of philosophy and all these kinds of things, partly because of my incredible tutors. But what I'm saying is through art and through that creative mind, things that are complex ideas that you can't necessarily grasp without having that part of your brain opened, often are accessed through art. Don't you think? There's just things we're going really far now, but the way that something appears or and makes you feel or something like that can open up parts of your brain that are able to comprehend different types of thought and offer new solutions. I don't really know what I'm talking about here tangibly, but you know what I mean, right?
I know what you mean, but the thing is, so when you say academic, so what academia is the study of stuff, but then it's about being able to express and not just
understand as well, though.
In a way that is for a specific outcome, i.e. a degree or whatever. So you kind of formalise this process. If you just allow, without bringing in things like schools and qualifications and you have to do this, if you do it on a really linear level and you take away all the bollocks and the bullshit and you just allow people to just, then it's easier. But as soon as you start saying, well, you've got to do it like this, and you've got to do it like this, and you've got to be able to write it down like this, and you've got to be able to index it like this, and do that, oh, fuck off, I can't be bothered, it's overcomplicated. Whereas the actual learning, we get we get the desire to learn beaten out of us because we make learning so formal, complicated, it has to have a reason. You not just learn for the sake of learning and enjoy it, and that's why, because through art you enjoyed it. Yeah, you enjoyed learning. Yeah, because it was things that you were. Do you know what I mean?
I think it just opened up the world to me.
Because so many people have such a really bad experience of school, and then that makes them think that they don't want to learn things anymore. Well, they do.
That. Yeah, I can totally get that. Yeah,
it's just that the way that we formalise learning and education and stuff just takes any joy out of it.
Because that's why it was because I'm badly dyslexic at the time in the 70s. That was it. They didn't bother with you.
Yeah,
you put shoved into a corner and that was it, and now you were labelled right through school.
Yeah, and then you start to take that on board, don't you?
Yeah, and then you don't think that you can then. That's a place for you, or that's.
You shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be doing that.
And then was art one of those things that
they couldn't understand why my artwork was just through brilliant, and the other stuff wasn't.
Yeah.
Well, doesn't that tell you something?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
if you just let me focus on that rather than trying to constantly put me into this thing that I'm
just
evidently struggling with.
You're lazy, and that was it, and that's what they did.
Yeah.
you know, but the artwork was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, hey, well, maybe that's what you're here for. Maybe that's why you're here. That's why that's your thing.
And you know what? Like, just talking about that as well, going back to it, like I had troubles as a kid, and it was really hard. But there's a part of me that is grateful for that time because
Yeah, you wouldn't be here now, would you?
and what ended up happening is my parents, the staff at school, whatever, they were just so at their wits' end with me that they were like, fine, just do art then. Because I was like, well, that's all I'm bothered about anyway.
That's all I ever wanted to do when I was a young girl. This is what you want to do. And I said, art, I remember must have been about 6 or 7.
Yeah.
I wanted to do art. That was it.
Just listen to the kid.
That's
If
what
they're
I
telling you what they're telling you what they want to do,
If they've got to that stage,
listen
that's
to them
fucking
and let them
amazing.
do it. Like, you know,
Because so
whatever
many
it
people
is.
don't know.
I know.
So, like, if they do know,
I
just
don't know
let
where
them roll with
Do you know
it.
what? So I don't know where I'd be if I hadn't got my art.
Oh,
I don't know where I'd be.
I don't think I would be anything.
I don't know where I'd be. I don't know what I'd be doing.
Yeah.
Because it's always been art.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. I think, like, you know, anyone who's listening who's got kids or is young, just keep doing. Let people be who they are and what they're good at and follow because you're only here once and you only get the opportunity to like do what you do. It's like it's so frustrating when people are just. I think I don't know if we live in a world now that is more designed to help people do that kind of thing or not, but I'd like to think that people are given opportunities to be who they are, but they're not, are they? I mean, it depends. You are if you're privileged. You're privileged if you're privileged if you are put in that position.
I think so. I think it's
because people have to make ends meet, don't they? And
I think the world that we live in now and the future is like quite a scary one, and like I don't know whether that also affects. I don't know. I'm going too far now, but.
Are we all at the end of our tether? Have we reached the
I'm
end?
just thinking now. I'm just going to
I just
lie
think
down.
the world is going to be so different in 50 years that,
Of course it will.
you know, I don't know the kind of things that we'll need to start focusing on. And I would always want it to be art, but I'm afraid
Yeah.
that maybe there'll be even less time for it.
I don't know. I think you'll
I
find
do.
a
You know
way.
what I don't get? Well, I do get it in a way. Actually, contradict myself straight away.
Well.
But you know, AI and like you know the why not get AI to do it, to write this thing for you? Why not get AI to like create this image for you? And I'm sure there's a place for it.
There is
but
a place for
like
it, but not all the time.
you know,
yeah.
it's one of those. You know, saying one of those things about being human, like. But then, like, there is now this non-human intelligence that can create things.
I mean, just because you mentioned AI, like AI has become really important in our household at the moment, partly through like my boyfriend's job, but through me as well, because like, you know how I said like artists are always writing applications and constantly having to sell themselves. AI is honestly a godsend in this world to be able to help people who can't express themselves well enough constantly. To express themselves and write applications that are, you know, concise. And this is what I'm saying, though. Artists spend hours on hours.
That's good. That's a good thing.
Writing.
Yeah.
So AI is actually really, really helping in that sense.
Yeah.
But I get what you mean. And but the actual image making side of it, that's a whole other. That's a whole other question.
But that's writing something quite, you know,
has its place.
writing a funding application. Is, you know, the funding application is not going to be on the wall framed as the,
no,
you know,
no.
or appear in a book or, you know, lyrics for a song.
Funny frame, jeez.
But I think like maybe there's a world in which AI.
There's a time and a place
But
for
we
it,
talk
I think.
about but artists being undervalued already. Is AI only going to make artists even less valued?
I think it might go the other way, you know. And I think I know lots of artists who are embracing AI in different sorts of ways because AI as it currently exists, if we're talking about like a large language model or whatever it is that you're talking about, that needs someone to import that data. So it really depends on the type of AI that the world gets to create. Like it really depends. But I think
there's that thing in art that there's the one thing which is the soul that it comes from.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I don't think that will ever get to that stage
No, it won't go
to be
that
able
stage.
to. It will constantly be able to replicate, but like to create something completely new. But then again, are we ever creating anything completely new? Because we essentially are inputting data.
We draw on our own influences.
Yeah,
don't
like,
we?
I don't know. I just
John
think
is in 50 years when we look back.
when we are underwater.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I say what, I'm hungry.
Yeah, fuck, I'm
What you
so
having?
hungry.
You know what I've got?
It's Wednesday, innit? So.
I've got in there. I've got.
Have you planned this
I've got
time?
some chicken and some gravy and some muffins. So I'm going to have a hot chicken gravy muffin.
Oh, my
That's
God, that
good.
sounds great.
Barm
Yeah.
cake.
No, muffin.
Barm cake.
No, we are in Oldham now. Remember,
Barm
Rachel.
cake, barm
It's
cake.
muffin in Oldham.
Barm cake.
What is it? Muffin. Yeah, thank you.
Barm cake.
What do you call it in Cheshire?
Fuck off! That's what they call it.
Well, you're from
Barm
Cheshire,
cake.
aren't you?
Oh, God's sake.
She's from Stockport. She's from Cheshire.
Barm cake.
I suppose when I was
not a
born...
muffin.
When I was born, it was still Greater Manchester. Everyone gets this wrong. Stockport has been part of Greater Manchester since the 60s or 70s or whatever it was.
Yeah, so it's stop.
Before that, it was in Cheshire.
They're always saying Cheshire. It's been like a million different counties.
Has
That's
it?
Manchester.
Yeah.
That's
A
Manchester.
million.
It's
been
been
a mi-
like
it's been-
Lancashire, Derbyshire.
What are you having for your tea?
I think I'm going to have loads of roasted vegetables.
Oh, yeah.
Just like loads, like a fuck ton of roasted
I
vegetables.
did such a good roast on Sunday.
Oh,
Did
yeah.
you?
Oh.
My God.
On a Sunday as well. That makes it
That's
taste
what
even
some of that
better.
gravy is left over. It was the chicken. But the spud, honestly, the spuds and the gravy were just out of this world.
Yeah, Nick's roast potatoes, which we're going to have tonight. He's going to get some steak. We're going to have roast potatoes and veg. And
Yeah, we're all doing a bit of roasties then, aren't we?
It's roast season, isn't it?
It is roast
Get the oven
season.
on, warms the kitchen up now. You know, it's cold. And, you
nice
know,
roast.
Just feels right, doesn't
It
it?
were really good on Sunday because I was in the house on my own. I was just pottering around and there was some Guinness, football were on.
This sounds
Guinness
great.
gravy, actually.
This
Then
sounds
I was
Yorkshire.
Do you
in
have
and out.
Yorkshire with your chicken?
I did, but I didn't. I'm going to confess, I didn't make them myself.
I think
you
that's
know
all
what?
right. I think
you
that's
know-
all
No,
right.
you know what, right? I went into the supermarket in Tesco and I was like, right, I was going around and then I got to the Yorkshire puddings, the frozen Yorkshire puddings, and the dearest were like nearly £3, and the cheapest were 46p for 6.
Right.
46p. I thought 46p for 6, or like £3. I was like, can they really be that much difference? So I thought, you know what, I'm going to try the 46p ones. And they were absolutely fine.
Were
They
they?
can't be like
They were, they were all. They
I
were
have to do my own.
absolutely fine.
No, I have to make my own
I
bags.
was expecting you to
No,
be
but they were
like,
nice.
they were banging out the red. And you were like,
they
they
were
were,
all-
you know what, you're absolutely fine.
But they're all frozen Yorkshire puddings, aren't they? So they're never like they're
No, I
never
can't
great,
do that.
are
I've
they?
gotta make
You
my
know,
own.
They're
Gotta
never
make my
brilliant.
own.
Well, I couldn't be asked doing that. But everything else
gotta
was
make your own
brilliant.
bags.
Maybe fucking A.
I gotta make your own.
Our Art Podcast is a KUPOD production in association with 1853 Studios and Gallery in Oldham, Greater Manchester. It's hosted by Rachel Gross, Luca Shaw, and is produced for KUPOD by Matt Dean. If you'd like to learn more about 1853 Studios and Gallery as a venue, or more about the artists who work there, please visit 1853studios.com. For more information on KUPOD, visit kupod.co.uk.